An Oklahoma woman is filing a lawsuit against evangelist Robert Tilton.
She's a former follower who says Tilton is a fake. The lawsuit asks for more than $80 million, claiming the evangelist is a fraud and he caused emotional distress. Beverly Crowley and her attorney announced the suit at a news conference this morning. She says Tilton keeps sending her husband letters saying God talked to him about his troubles. Her husband died in September.
Robert Tilton tells his TV viewers he can bring God's blessing down on them, the poor, the troubled, the sick. Beverly Crowley says with her husband Tom, he went too far. The couple lived in Winona, Oklahoma. Ill with diabetes and hoping for a miracle, Tom Crowley sent money to Tilton, and then Crowley died. But Beverly says months later, the evangelist's letters kept coming, asking for money. Tilton saying, God spoke to me specifically about you, Tom. Tom, he wants to restore your health.
When letters like this are going out to people that's been dead for this many months and God's told him to tell him such things, it's lies. And people need to know it, and they need to stop, and they don't even need to listen to the man.
The grieving widow sent Tilton a letter telling him to stop writing, that the letters were just causing her more hurt and pain.
I love you, and I look forward to you writing me.
What the Crowleys didn't know is that Robert Tilton doesn't write any letters. They're generated by the tens of thousands from mailing lists by computer. The letters didn't stop, so Beverly is suing Tilton in federal court for $40 million for fraud and intentional emotional distress.
The uniqueness here is that Robert Tilton is telling Tom, anyway, who's dead, that God's still talking to him about Tom Crowley. It just can't be.
This is the first such lawsuit against the Dallas preacher. The woman's lawyer feels other Tilton ex-followers will soon join in. Church officials contacted had nothing to say. Tilton's Tulsa attorney couldn't be reached. Beverly Crowley says if she could talk personally with Robert Tilton, she'd ask him one thing. If God really does talk to him, then why didn't God tell him her husband was dead?
New legal trouble tonight for Robert Tilton. The flamboyant Texas TV preacher has been hit with a second $40 million lawsuit by a widow in Oklahoma. More from Channel 8's Bill Brown in Tulsa.
When you love somebody as much as I love my husband, and you put your sort of trust in somebody, and that's just like a slap in the face.
TV evangelist Robert Tilton claims God talks to him, but some say the preacher goes too far when he says through him the Lord can heal dead people. 67-year-old Dorothy Reese is the second widow in Oklahoma to brand Tilton a fraud and sue him, seeking millions. In the last stage of throat cancer, desperate with pain, Dorothy's husband Fred asked Tilton for a miracle prayer to save his life. The 70-year-old man died in January, but his widow is still getting letters from Tilton, suggesting that a cash payment will buy him life. Tilton gets the name wrong, saying in the form letters, Reese, God spoke a clear prophetic word to me for you. Reese, he wants to restore your health.
It wouldn't hurt me as much if he'd walked up to me and hold on and hit me. And to get that letter saying that God was going to heal him, because I'd already given him to God.
Two widows in Oklahoma are now suing Robert Tilton for $80 million, saying after their husbands died, Tilton still sent letters asking for cash, offering the healing of God. Clearly, Tilton did not want to talk about that.
I'm not going to make any statement. Can I heal dead people? No. I'm not going to make any statements along those lines, but you'll see that that will be just basically squashed and thrown out of court. That we will end.
Do you have anything to say to those women?
Yes, I love them, and I'm praying for them.
If you personally pray over every prayer
I pray
request,
over every
why wouldn't you
prayer
know that the man has been dead for 5 months?
Oh, no.
If your attention is so personal.
Someone was talking about how Tilton writes all these letters, but they're not personal. Well, what about the Apostle Paul? Is this a farm letter? I mean, is this the epistle of Paul the Apostle to the Ephesians, is that a farm letter? It's probably been printed a billion times. Here you go. Come on, reporters. You're looking for it. This farm letter has been sent out a billion times. And probably hundreds of millions of people have read this as a farm letter to somebody else. But there's been millions more read it, and it wasn't for somebody else, that other billion. even though it had been printed the same way 1 billion times, all of a sudden it became one letter to that person. When I write you a letter, I'm writing hundreds of thousands of people. At the same time, I'm writing you.
Legal troubles continue to mount for TV evangelist Robert Tilton. In recent weeks, we've told you about 2 Oklahoma widows who are suing Tilton, charging fraud and emotional distress. Now their lawyer has come to the Metroplex looking for others who want to sue. News 4 Texas reporter Richard Ray says there's no shortage of interest.
What we're going to try to do is get as many people together as we can.
Gary Richardson is a former U.S. attorney from Tulsa, a much sought-after lawyer with a record for winning big, including the largest libel verdict in U.S. history. Now he's set his sights on Robert Tilton, what he says could be a class action involving hundreds of people.
There are a lot of angry people, a lot of people that feel like that they have been lied to, that they've been defrauded. I've been involved in Christian work for years. My dad was a minister before he passed away. I've never seen anything like this in all of my life.
Richardson has already sued on behalf of 2 widows whose husbands kept getting letters from Tilton after they died, letters saying, "God wants to restore your health." Rose Rowney of DeSoto is another who feels victimized by Tilton mailings. They started when her son developed a heart problem and continued despite her written and telephone pleas to stop.
And I said, my son died 2 months ago and I don't want anything to do with you. I said, you people have harassed me till I'm sick.
Rose never gave the ministry money, but Pagine Vega did. $8,000 or $9,000, she says, until hard times forced her to ask for help.
On the phone, they were behind me 100%. But when I showed up at their front door, they wanted nothing to do with me.